Throwaway for obvious reasons. So I, female, 32, just found out my ex has been sending really messed up texts to our 8-year-old daughter, and I feel like I'm losing my mind. He's basically using her as a spy, and I don't know if I'm overreacting or if this is as bad as it seems. Am I the idiot for secretly checking her phone to see what he's been telling her? Okay, so background, I guess. My ex, male, 35, left me and our 3 kids about 8 months ago because he was in love with some pregnant coworker at his job. Said he needed to start fresh with his new family. Classic midlife crisis BS, right? We have 3 kids together, Emma, female 8, Tyler, male 6, and Sophia, female 4. The whole divorce thing has been, well, it's been hell, honestly. He gets the kids every other weekend, but he's super inconsistent. Like sometimes he's all loving dad of the year, taking them to the zoo and buying them toys. Other times he drops them off early because he's not feeling well or whatever. The kids never know what version of dad they're gonna get, and it's really messing with them. I should mention that during our marriage, my ex had this thing where he'd always tell me I was remembering things wrong whenever we'd fight. Like I'd bring up something he said or did, and he'd act like I was making it up or being dramatic. It got so bad that I started writing down important conversations just to keep track of what actually happened. I know that sounds crazy, but honestly, it was the only way to stay sane. Anyway, Emma has always been way too mature for her age, you know. She's the oldest, and she's always been the peacekeeper. Even when she was little, she'd ask these careful questions to figure out if the grown-ups were about to fight. Poor kid basically became the family counselor during the divorce. So this past weekend, Emma came home from her visit with Dad, and by Tuesday she was being weird, like quiet and asking these strange questions while I'm helping her with homework. Out of nowhere, she stops working on her math and goes, "Mommy, will Daddy always be my daddy, even if he has a new baby?" And I'm like, okay, that came from somewhere. So I ask her why she's thinking about that, and she says Daddy told her that families sometimes change and kids have to pick sides sometimes. Pick sides. She's 8 years old. What kind of person tells an 8-year-old she might have to pick sides? This immediately reminded me of the crap he used to pull during our marriage. He'd make these vague, threatening comments about how some relationships don't work out when we'd fight, like he was preparing me for him to leave. Same manipulation tactics, different victim, I guess. But it got worse. During bedtime that night, Emma starts crying and tells me that Daddy said not to talk about their special conversations because it might make Mommy sad. She's worried because Daddy told her she's supposed to remember important things he says, but she keeps forgetting stuff. The poor kid thinks she's failing some kind of test. I'm sitting there trying to comfort her, and I suddenly remember that I have that tracking app on all the kids' phones. Before anyone comes for me, it's for safety and limiting screen time, not spying, or at least that's what I thought I was using it for. I decided to check what exactly my ex has been saying to her, you guys. The messages I found, I honestly don't even know where to start. There are weeks of this stuff. Messages where he asks her things like, "How did Mommy seem when you got home, and did Mommy look tired today?" He keeps telling her to pay attention to whether Mommy seems overwhelmed or stressed out. And there's this one recent message that it really freaked me out. He wrote, "Some mommies decide 3 kids is too many to take care of, but don't worry, sweetie, we'll figure it out together." What the actual FCK? He's literally coaching our daughter to spy on me and planting seeds that I might abandon them. This is exactly what he used to do during our marriage. He'd quiz the kids about what Mommy did all day while he was at work. I thought that stopped after the divorce, but apparently he just got more sneaky about it. I screenshotted everything because, honestly, I don't know what I'm gonna do with them yet. Part of me wants to show them to my lawyer, but another part of me is worried I'll look like a vindictive ex who's trying to cause problems. Like he used to tell me I was being paranoid all the time, so now I'm second-guessing myself. Are these messages actually that bad, or am I just being oversensitive because it's him? But then I think about Emma crying at bedtime about keeping secrets, and I get furious all over again. She's 8. She should be worried about school and friends and which toy she wants for Christmas, not whether her family is going to fall apart or if she's doing a good job spying on her mother. I haven't confronted him about it yet because honestly I don't even know what to say. Hey, stop psychologically manipulating our daughter feels like it shouldn't need to be said. But here we are. The worst part is that Emma thinks she's helping somehow. She's always been the kid who tries to fix everything and keep everyone happy. She probably thinks these special conversations are important daddy-daughter bonding time, and she has no idea she's being used. I don't know what to do here. Do I tell him I know about the messages? Do I talk to Emma about it? Do I just save everything and wait to see if it gets worse? I'm so tired of feeling like I'm losing my mind every time I have to deal with this man. Am I the idiot for checking my daughter's phone without telling my ex? Should I have confronted him first instead of snooping? I know the tracking app thing is controversial, but honestly, after everything he's put us through, I don't feel bad about protecting my kids. Edit 1. Since so many people are asking, yes, I saved screenshots of everything, and yes, I'm planning to show them to my lawyer. I honestly wasn't sure if I was overreacting, but the responses here are making me realize this is actually really serious. Edit 2. To everyone saying I should talk to Emma about this, I'm planning to, but I want to be careful about how I approach it. She already feels guilty about keeping secrets, and I don't want her to think she's in trouble. Any advice on how to explain this to an 8-year-old would be helpful. Edit 3. A few people asked about the other kids. Tyler is only 6 and doesn't have a phone yet, and Sophia is 4, so she mostly just plays games on the tablet when she's there. As far as I know, it's just Emma getting these messages, but I'm definitely going to be more careful about monitoring what he says to all of them. Edit 4. For those wondering why I even let him have unsupervised visits after finding this, honestly, I'm stuck between wanting to protect my kids and not wanting to look like I'm trying to alienate them from their father. The custody agreement is pretty standard, and I'd need concrete evidence of harm to change it. But these messages might be exactly what I need to show the court that something needs to change. Now for the first update. Things got worse since my last post, and now I'm pretty sure something weird is going on with my ex. So it's been about a month since I found those messed up messages on Emma's phone, and honestly, things have been weird. Like my ex has been even flakier than usual with his pickup times, and he keeps making these strange comments about changes coming for our family. I don't know what that means, but it gives me major anxiety every time. The child support payments are still coming through on time, so at least that's consistent, but he started complaining about money being tight for everyone during our exchanges, which is rich considering he's the one who decided to blow up our family for, well, I'm still not entirely sure what for, honestly. His mom has been hanging around a lot more lately too. She keeps offering to help with the kids and making these little comments about how hard single parenting must be, which okay, I've been doing most of the parenting for years, even when we were married, so this isn't exactly new for me. But she keeps saying stuff like, "You look tired, honey," and "Are you sure you're getting enough help?" And it's starting to feel weird. And my ex keeps bringing up old fights from our marriage during kid exchanges. Like completely out of nowhere, he'll be like, "Remember how you used to get so overwhelmed when Emma was a baby?" Or, "You always said 3 kids was a lot of work." It's so random, and it's making me feel like he's trying to remind me, or maybe himself, that I was supposedly falling apart even when we were together. Which is BS, by the way. I was overwhelmed because he barely helped with anything, not because I couldn't handle being a mom. Emma has been getting more anxious about her visits with him too. She keeps asking me weird questions when she gets home, like, "Mommy, do you seem tired today?" And, "Are you sad about something?" Poor kid is clearly still getting coached, but I've been trying to be careful about how I respond because I don't want her to feel like she's in trouble. Anyway, this past Friday was supposed to be his regular pickup at 6 p.m. The kids were already in their pajamas by 8 because I figured he'd bailed again when he finally shows up. 2 hours late, and instead of apologizing or explaining where he was, he immediately starts bitching about how I didn't answer my phone when he called. I was giving Sophia a bath, and my phone was in the other room, but apparently that makes me unreachable and irresponsible. Then he started going on about how the kids need more routine and stability, and he's been thinking about filing for additional custody time because their current schedule is too chaotic. I'm standing there thinking like, dude, you're the one who just showed up 2 hours late when my kids are already ready for bed. How is that my fault? But then he said something that really bothered me. He told me he's been looking up what family courts actually care about in custody decisions, and it's not what most people think. He started talking about how courts want to see which parent provides the most consistent environment and which parent the kids feel emotionally safe with. I suddenly realized what was happening. All those messages he's been sending Emma, asking her to pay attention to whether I seem stressed or overwhelmed, telling her that some mommies decide 3 kids is too much. He's been trying to get her to notice things about me. He's literally coaching our 8-year-old to be a witness against me. I completely lost it. I tried to stay calm because the kids were right there, but I was shaking. I told him we needed to talk privately, and we went outside. I showed him the screenshots I'd saved from Emma's phone and asked him what the hell he thought he was doing using our daughter as a spy. He got all defensive and said the messages were just checking in, and I was being paranoid like I always was during our marriage. There's that word again, paranoid, his favorite way to make me feel crazy. But then he said something that made everything make sense. He went on about how the kids deserve stability and he can't afford to support 2 households forever if I'm going to be difficult about co-parenting. Wait, what? I asked him what he meant by afford, and that's when he got all flustered. Started backtracking and saying the economy is tough for everyone and he's just trying to do what's best for the kids. But he'd already said too much. This whole custody thing, it's not because he wants more time with them. It's because he wants to pay less child support. It makes perfect sense now. If he can prove I'm an unfit mother, then he could get primary custody and I'd have to pay him. Or at the very least, he could get the payments reduced. And he's been using Emma to gather evidence that I'm stressed and overwhelmed. I'm honestly not sure if I'm more angry or just shocked at how messed up this is. Like this is some serious manipulation, even for him. After he left and took the kids even though they were already in pajamas because apparently routine and stability don't apply to him, I decided to call his mom. I wanted to talk to her about those concerning messages and see if she knew what was going on. The conversation was interesting. She sounded genuinely surprised when I told her about the messages Emma had been getting, asked me what I meant, and seemed upset when I explained what had been happening. She said, "That doesn't sound like how I raised him," which honestly gave me some hope that at least someone in his family has some sense left. But then she mentioned that he's been going through a rough patch lately, and she's been helping him with some bills because his job situation changed. She asked me not to mention it because he's embarrassed about needing help. Hold up, job situation changed. The man has been paying child support through automatic payroll deduction. If he lost his job, then where is that money coming from? I asked her what she meant, and she got all quiet. Finally, she said he lost his position a few months ago, but he's been looking for something new. She's been helping him out temporarily because she doesn't want the kids to suffer. You guys, his mom has been paying my child support for months. While he's been pretending everything is fine and trying to get custody to avoid payments, he's not even making himself. I feel so stupid for not figuring this out sooner. All the signs were there. Him being flaky with visits because he's probably stressed about money, the weird comments about changes coming because he knows this situation isn't sustainable, his mom suddenly being around more because she's worried about her grandkids, and now this whole custody threat. He doesn't want our kids. He wants to get out of paying for them. And the worst part is he's been using Emma to help him do it, making her spy on me so he can try to prove that I'm unfit while he's literally unemployed and living off his mother's charity. I don't even know what to do with this information. Part of me wants to confront him about the job thing, but his mom asked me not to say anything. Another part of me wants to call my lawyer immediately. And honestly, a small part of me almost feels bad for him, because being unemployed is stressful and scary. But then I think about Emma asking me if I seem tired, and I get furious all over again. He's put our 8-year-old in the middle of his financial problems and made her think she needs to evaluate my mental state. That's so messed up, I don't even have words for it. I'm supposed to drop the kids off with him tomorrow for his weekend, and I honestly don't know how I'm going to look at him without completely losing it. How do you even bring up, "Hey, I know you're unemployed and your mom told me not to tell you I know," in casual conversation? This whole thing just keeps getting worse, and I feel like every time I figure out one layer of lies, there's another one underneath. I just want my kids to have a normal relationship with their dad without all this manipulation and game playing. Anyone dealt with something like this before? How do you even handle an ex who's willing to psychologically mess with your kids to avoid his own responsibilities? Now for the second update. You were all right about something being seriously wrong with my ex's story, and honestly, I wish I'd listened harder to those warnings. So it's been about 2 weeks since I found out about the whole unemployment situation, and honestly, things have been relatively quiet, like really quiet. My ex has been showing up on time for his visits, which never happens, and he's been super polite during exchanges instead of his usual passive-aggressive BS. I was actually starting to think maybe his mom talking to him about the job thing had gotten through to him somehow. The kids seemed less anxious too. Emma wasn't asking me those weird coaching questions anymore. Maybe because I'd started being more careful about how I responded to them, and Tyler actually seemed excited about his weekend visits instead of stressed. I thought maybe we were finally settling into some kind of normal routine, even if it was built on his mom's charity payments. I should have known it was too good to last. This past Friday morning, I get woken up at like 7 a.m. by my phone ringing. It's my ex, and he's crying. Not like sad crying, but like panicked sobbing. I'm immediately thinking something happened to one of the kids, even though they're all here with me. He called me crying and begging for help, saying he didn't know what to do and couldn't handle things alone. I'm sitting up in bed trying to wake up properly and figure out what crisis he's managed to create now. I asked what was wrong, and then he tells me this absolutely insane story. Apparently the pregnant coworker, the one he left us for, had the baby 2 days ago. But get this, she took one look at the baby, decided she didn't want to be a mother, and literally just left. Like packed her stuff and disappeared while he was filling out paperwork at the hospital. I'm listening to this thinking like, what the actual hell? Who does that? But he's sobbing about how he's stuck with this newborn baby, and he doesn't know anything about taking care of infants, and he's already dealing with the job situation, and his mental health is basically in the toilet. He told me the baby was with his mom right now, but she's 67 years old and can't take care of a newborn long term. Her back is killing her, and she doesn't have the energy for night feedings and diaper changes every 2 hours. At this point, I'm just confused. Like, obviously, this is a terrible situation for everyone involved, especially the baby. But why is he calling me about it? We're divorced. His life choices aren't my problem anymore. But then he starts getting into this whole thing about how our kids should know their sibling and how family is the most important thing. And he's realized through all this chaos that he made a huge mistake leaving us. He's going on about how maybe this is the universe's way of bringing our family back together. Then he asked if I would adopt the baby. I literally had to ask him to repeat that because I thought I misheard. Adopt his baby with another woman. The baby that caused our entire family to implode. He starts talking really fast about how it would be perfect because our kids would grow up with their sibling and the baby would have a mom who actually knows how to take care of children, and he would sign over all his parental rights, so I'd have full custody of all 4 kids and we could finally have the stability the children deserve. And I'm sitting there thinking, wait, full custody. He's offering to sign away his rights to all the kids, including our 3. The same guy who was just threatening to fight me for additional custody a month ago. But then he starts crying again and talking about how he can't handle being a single dad with everything else going on, and how the baby deserves better than what he can provide right now. He kept saying stuff about how I'm such a good mom and how I'd know what to do, and honestly, part of me felt bad for him. I mean, regardless of how much I hate what he did to our family, there's supposedly an innocent baby involved here who didn't ask for any of this. He kept pushing for me to call his mom and talk about the baby's immediate needs. Said we should talk about formula and feeding schedules and whether she has enough diapers to get through the weekend. He wanted me to call right then while he was still on the line so we could all be on the same page. I don't know why I agreed. Maybe because I was still half asleep, or maybe because some part of me actually believed this insane story. But I said okay. I dialed his mom's number while he stayed on his phone listening. I told Mrs. Patterson it was Sarah and that her son had told me about the baby situation, and I wanted to see how I could help with the immediate needs. There was this long pause. Then she asked what baby. I explained about the coworker giving birth and leaving the baby with her, how my ex was overwhelmed and asking about adoption possibilities, how we wanted to make sure the baby was getting proper care while we figured out next steps. Another long pause. Then she said there's no baby there. There's no baby at all. My stomach literally dropped. I asked what she meant. She told me there's no pregnant coworker either, and her voice was getting really sharp. There never was a pregnant coworker. That entire story was made up. I could hear my ex in the background trying to grab his phone, but his mom kept talking. She said he's been living in her basement for 6 months, making up stories about his fake girlfriend and fake job and now fake babies. She needed to talk to her son immediately. The rest of the conversation was basically his mom yelling at him, while I sat there in complete shock. Turns out the entire Coworker story was made up from the beginning. There was never another woman. There was never a pregnancy. He didn't leave me for someone else. He just left. And then made up this elaborate story to explain why. He's been living in his mother's basement this whole time, telling people he was starting a new family when really he was just, I don't even know what he was doing. Hiding from his responsibilities, playing video games. I honestly have no idea what his daily life has been for the past 8 months. His mom was furious, like absolutely livid. She was saying stuff about how she raised him better than this, and how could he lie to his children about something this serious, and what is wrong with him that he'd make up a baby to manipulate his ex-wife. And suddenly, everything made sense. The custody threats weren't about wanting more time with the kids. They were about getting out of child support. The fake adoption plan wasn't about bringing our family together. It was about getting me to take full custody so he wouldn't have any financial obligations at all. Even the timing made sense. He probably figured if I adopted a fake baby and he signed away his rights, he could disappear completely and start over somewhere else. I feel so stupid for not seeing through this sooner. Like all the signs were there. His mom paying child support, the inconsistent visitation, the weird comments about changes coming. He was basically planning his exit strategy and trying to manipulate me into making it easy for him. But the worst part is thinking about what this would have done to our kids. Emma, Tyler, and Sophia were supposed to get excited about a baby sibling who doesn't exist. They were supposed to welcome their dad back into their lives based on complete lies. Emma was already feeling guilty about keeping secrets, and now she would have been part of this massive lie without even knowing it. I finally hung up after his mom promised to call me back once she dealt with her son. And I just sat there for like an hour, trying to process the fact that my entire divorce was based on a lie. He didn't leave me for another woman. He didn't choose his new family over us. He just decided he didn't want to be married anymore and made up a story that would make him look less awful, which somehow makes it worse. Like, at least if there was actually another person involved, I could understand the emotional affair aspect or whatever. But this was just him being a coward and a liar. I keep thinking about all the nights I stayed up wondering what I did wrong or what she had that I didn't. All the times I explained to the kids that daddy loved them, but sometimes grown-ups fall in love with other people. All the therapy sessions where I talked about feeling replaced and inadequate, none of it was real. The whole foundation of our divorce was just nothing. I don't even know how to explain this to the kids. Like, how do you tell an 8-year-old that the reason daddy left wasn't actually because of a new girlfriend, but because I honestly don't even know why he left. He apparently just didn't want to be our family anymore and couldn't figure out how to say that without looking like the bad guy. His mom called me back later that evening and we had a really long conversation. She's been covering for him thinking he was just going through a rough patch, but she had no idea about the custody threats or the manipulation with Emma or any of the really serious stuff. She's horrified that he's been using the kids as pawns in whatever game he's been playing. She also told me some things that I'm still trying to process. Apparently he's been seeing a therapist, which is good, I guess. But he's been telling the therapist that I was abusive during our marriage, and that's why he had to create the Coworker story to protect himself during the divorce. Which is just, I can't even wrap my head around that level of rewriting history. She doesn't believe him, obviously. She was there during our marriage and she knows exactly how things actually went. But it's scary that he's convinced himself this story, where I'm somehow the villain, and he's the victim who had to lie to protect himself. I'm supposed to have a conversation with him before the kids go back for their next visit. But honestly, I don't know what there is to say. Like, where do you even start with someone who's willing to make up entire people and fake emergencies just to avoid taking responsibility for their choices? Part of me wonders if I should even let the kids go back for visits after this. Not because I think he'd hurt them physically, but because how do you trust someone with your children when they're clearly living in some kind of alternate reality where lying is just a normal way to handle problems? I've been going back and forth about whether to tell them the truth about the Coworker story or just let them keep believing their dad left for someone else. Which version is less damaging to an 8-year-old's understanding of family and relationships? That your dad chose another family over you? Or that your dad made up another family because he just didn't want you anymore? I honestly don't know which one is worse. My lawyer wants to see me Monday morning, to talk about emergency custody modifications. She thinks the fake baby scheme, combined with all the other manipulation, might be enough to get supervised visitation ordered until he gets some serious help. Part of me feels bad about that, because the kids love their dad even if he's completely lost it. But another part of me is terrified about what other lies he might tell them, or what other schemes he might involve them in. I just want my kids to have a normal relationship with their father without all this chaos and manipulation, but I'm starting to think that might not be possible with who he's become. Has anyone dealt with an ex who's just completely detached from reality like this? How do you even co-parent with someone when you can't trust a single word that comes out of their mouth?